Welcome everyone.
What a good producer I am, fellas.
Oh.
Make
If
it up
you
right now. Do a jingle. Do a jingle.
if you knew the trouble that I just had to go through in order to get this stream up and running and functional, and it's all my fault. I mean, there's nothing else. Usually it's Dave's fault, but today it's my fault.
Yeah, not me. Not my fault.
It's nice for a change for somebody else to have problems, except for Dave. Um, I planned on doing a cool little intro music jingle or something going on, but I screwed that up. We don't even have anybody watching yet, so that's all cool.
So practice. Do a practice run right now. Give us what you're gonna do.
Nationwide is on your side. How about that?
Well, it's not our name.
Well, I mean, it should be. I'm gonna write a rap for next week or something. I guess I don't know.
I like it.
All right, so we're gonna get started with the stream. Today we're filming and editing and recording episode number 21 of our TRIF3CTA Sports podcast. We're going through the series of the AFC fantasy football teams and picking which players you would be more likely or should look out for when it comes to your fantasy drafts. We've already covered the AFC, North and the AFC East. Today we're going to go with the AFC West, which in my opinion is freaking loaded with fantasy football players. If you don't know who we are, my name is Frank Spencer. I'm the host here and editor. I do a decent job of running the show, but today I have not done a decent job of running the show. It has not gone off smoothly. We're supposed to get off at 9 o'clock, but you see we're here at 9:26. We got our good buddy Coop right there. That's Coop. And then we got our good buddy Dave. Usually Dave's the one with all the problems. He gets kicked out constantly, but it is what it is.
I figured my shit out. Now Frank lost all of his. So
I couldn't get my camera connected today. But we're going to go ahead and get in the show. We're going to start off with the AFC West, talking about which teams. We got the Broncos, Raiders, Chiefs, and Chargers. We're going to talk about which of these teams you should target for your fantasy picks. What team do you guys feel like you want to start with first?
Let's go Denver.
Okay.
Here we go, Denver.
Denver Broncos. We're going to roll with we're going to switch some stuff up here. Denver. How about that? Y'all like that? Different colors? You like it? Yeah? No? Yeah? Okay.
Looks
All
good.
right. Denver Broncos. We're big splash this summer, picking up Russell Wilson. Congrats to Broncos fans. You guys finally got a quarterback that can throw it more than 20 yards down the field. Sorry, Seahawks fans, you got Drew Lock. The Broncos quarterbacks have been garbage ever since Peyton Manning left. They had that year where they made it to the Super Bowl, and it's been pretty much crap from then on out. But we're going to go ahead and look into. Let's find the Broncos depth chart here. Obviously, just mentioned Russell Wilson. Javonte Williams starting running back with Melvin Gordon as a backup. That's intriguing to me for many various reasons. Courtland Sutton, probably the number one wide receiver, hands down. But he's been hurt. He gets hurt all the time. He's an injury-prone receiver. Do you want to draft him? Maybe, maybe not. Jerry Jeudy, big name, little production so far. KJ Hamler, and then I'm not even going to try to pronounce that tight end's name.
Albert O.
Albert O. We'll call him Albert O. Coop, can you say that name?
Nope.
You ain't even going to try?
Nope. He's Albert O.
Okwuegbunam. There you go. Close enough. All right. Let's get into the Denver Broncos, fellas. Which players do you think are going to be big hitters in the fantasy football world? Coop, I want you to go first.
Yeah, so I'm really high on Courtland Sutton. I think he is set up to have a huge year. We've seen it from him in the past, right? He's had a 1,000-yard season, 7 touchdowns, then he gets hurt. Last year he's playing with nobody. Led the team in targets, most of the metrics you have, it was Sutton. But the thing that jumps out to me is he only had 2 touchdowns last season. Cortland Sutton is 6'4". DK Metcalf is 6'4". Last year, Metcalf had 12 touchdowns with Russell Wilson throwing him the ball in a season where Russ missed 3 games and pretty much Seattle quit. I mean, they did. He had a career low in rushing attempts. He had a career low in passing attempts. Like, he missed a couple games, but Russ was definitely held back last year by whatever was going on in Seattle. So I think that Cortland Sutton is going to be huge. I have him ranked significantly higher than Jerry Jeudy. He's close to my top 20 at wide receiver, so I know I'm much higher on him than the industry. And another reason I like him a lot is because I don't like Jeudy. We just haven't really seen anything out of Jerry Jeudy yet. Over his 17 games I think he's played in his career, he's only caught 53% of his targets. He's got 3 touchdowns on 90 career catches, and he also has 3 fumbles. Like, we've seen nothing great out of Jerry Jeudy so far. And I don't know, if you look at the rankings, ADP, all of that right now, Jeudy is being drafted as the number 1 wide receiver in Denver. He's not number 1 on the depth chart. He's not number 1 in the stat book, and he doesn't profile as Russell Wilson's number 1 receiver. So I think that's the most interesting name to me for the Broncos is this receiving room in Cortland Sutton.
Yeah, I've had Cortland Sutton in numerous leagues over the last couple of years. I do think, Coop, you're absolutely 100% right about him probably having a breakout year if he stays healthy. That's the problem that I've had with Sutton is last year I couldn't use him at all because he was barely played. He does have a different quarterback now. I mean, the quarterback makes all the difference in the wide receiver room, regardless of how talented you are. We've seen that with Tom Brady when he was with the Patriots. Like, he would take some no-name receivers, make them whole household names, and get them big contracts, and take them to Super Bowls and stuff like that. But is Russell Wilson on that level? We don't know yet. I feel like he's been in Super Bowls before. He's a very talented quarterback. This AFC West is loaded with defenses, and there's a lot of variables that have to come into place when it comes to, picking and choosing which of these receivers out of this division and on this team really you should target. Do you target both Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy? Do you get the best of both worlds? Maybe. But what's more intriguing to me is the running back situation. The running back situation here in Denver, we have Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. We all know who Melvin Gordon is. It's no secret. Big name fantasy guy from the last few years. Javonte Williams, probably not a well-known household name, but both of those guys received 200-plus carries last year. Melvin Gordon had, I think, 8 touchdowns. I'm sure one of you guys have that stat. I looked it up earlier, and Javonte Williams may have had 2 or 4. I can't remember. 4 touchdowns. If I'm targeting Denver Broncos running backs, I'm trying to get both of them. I think if you get both of them at the same time, piggyback off each other, one of them is going to get the bulk share of the carries in the red zone, and we don't know who that's going to be yet until the season starts. Both of them probably not your running back 1 and running back 2s, but it could be a flex play in deep leagues. If you have a 12-team PPR league, one of them could be your flex guy. If you draft both of them, you have both options. And you don't have to pick and choose. If you have Melvin Gordon and without Javonte Williams, you don't have to pick and choose which one you're going to play that day. But you're probably going to doubt yourself by playing one of them without knowing and paying attention to what the Broncos are actually doing depth chart wise in terms of who gets carries at what part of the field. Dave, what's your take on the Broncos?
Yeah, I kind of agree with both you guys. Wide receiver wise, I'm not touching any of them until I'm looking for my 3rd wide receiver, just based off of production and injuries. New quarterback. I will say that I do really like Russell Wilson. He is a great fantasy quarterback. He missed 3 games, but you can honestly say he probably missed more like 6 because he played so bad with a broken thumb. He still pulled out 25 touchdowns and only 6 interceptions last year. I mean, he did have DK and he had Lockett, but I could honestly say I think Tyler Lockett is Tyler Lockett because of Russell Wilson. I mean, I know he's good, but I think Russell Wilson has helped him elevate his game. So I'm interested to see what Russell Wilson does with like Jerry Jeudy. And these guys are finally going to have a known pocket passer, pass first guy, not going to be a Drew Lock, just chuck it down the football field. So it's going to be interesting. But I would say I'm looking at them. They're my third wide receiver that I'm going to target. I think there's, like Coop had Cortland Sutton at 20. I would agree. There's definitely 20 better picks out there at wide receiver.
For sure.
Yeah.
Running back wise, I did hear that Williams is getting like 70% of the share with first team reps right now.
Yeah, if you notice, this is just taken off the internet today. He is running back one for sure. So they obviously see something in him that maybe they didn't see last year, according to the stat book. But 4 touchdowns versus 8 touchdowns, that's a big difference.
I mean, ESPN has him ranked at number 11 right now. So I do think he's going to be like in the second group of running backs that go, second or third. And if I'm targeting a Denver guy, that's who I'm going after because he was a rookie last year. Melvin Gordon's getting older. Running back age is a thing. And, like Coop said it, they're hurt constantly at the wide receiver position. We don't even know who their tight end is. Maybe Melvin Gordon's a trade piece, a quarter or halfway through the season to go get that piece to make them contend for the AFC West. Their defense is going to be phenomenal. So, I think I'm high on the Broncos. Russell Wilson's really going to make them drive as an offensive unit. It's not going to be run heavy like it was last year, and it's going to be interesting. I would say I wouldn't be scared to draft any of these guys, but it might be you might not start in the first week or two, or they might be your flex guy to kind of feel out what their offense is actually going to be like.
Yeah. Based on draft value, I think that Gordon is the better pick. Definitely think that Williams leads the backfield, but there's really 3 backfields in the NFL right now that I'm just I can't talk myself out of both of those running backs being top 30, and this is one of them. Like, I really think they could have that, 2019 Chargers season where you had Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler as top 15 backs at the end of the season. They both had 200 carries last year. I think the exact amount, 203 each, and there were 15 yards difference at the end of the season on the ground. Yep. So it's gonna be a split. Williams has way more upside. He's a more explosive player. They're going to use him more in the passing game. They lost 175 targets with Tim Patrick tearing his ACL, Noah Fant going to Seattle. So a lot more balls to go around. I'm in on both these guys. I'm not paying RB11 price for Javonte Williams. It's going to be a split backfield. I would rather have an Elijah Mitchell who, kind of has it to himself right now. Even a Cam Akers, if he's healthy, it's his. But I'm really high on the value you can get Melvin Gordon for. And just to mention Russ here, we've talked about him. I think he's a top 10 quarterback, should be drafted in every league. I have him at 8, right behind Dak.
Yeah, I agree. I think, it's kind of crazy. Russell Wilson's won a Super Bowl, was 2 yards away from winning another. Never has received an MVP vote, but yet he is a top performer at quarterback, and he's going to get you some points. So he might be a guy that, he's a late round or your late quarterback in the draft, but, that's what we're going to run with Russ. He's going to get you some points.
You're going to have to pardon my technical difficulties here.
Say, am I alone soul right now?
We have a lot of problems right now. All right, we're going to have to roll with this camera, fellas, I guess. I don't know.
That's all right. Coop will be back.
Yeah, Coop's had some issues too. What a good time we're having today on the show.
It's electric. You never know what's going to happen next.
All right, so to piggyback off what Coop said, he had Russell Wilson in a league like ours. We have, we play 2 quarterbacks. We have a lot of points being thrown around. We have inflated points. Some would probably say too inflated, but with the 2 quarterback league that we have, drafting Russell Wilson, is a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
If you haven't played in a 2-quarterback league before, I would highly recommend it. It's kind of fun. It changes your draft strategy a little bit. For me, and we also play keepers as well. We have 5 keepers. I don't know that I have a keeper quarterback on my team from last year. So with Russell Wilson getting a new fresh start, he's not really a quarterback I would go after. But from the look of things, I'm probably going to have to target him if he's not a keeper on somebody else's team already, right? So we're going to move on to who we got next. Dave, you got a preference?
Let's do the Raiders.
The Raiders. All right, so we have the Raiders. Let me get all this taken care of. We'll pop that up right quick like. All right, Las Vegas Raiders. They're a pretty intriguing team. New head coach and Josh McDaniels, long time offensive coordinator with the Patriots and Bill Belichick. With Derek Carr as a quarterback, very solid. I would say middle of the pack type quarterback. But the big splash, and you'll see scrolling across the bottom here at number 4, Davante Adams. Big name in the fantasy football or world, honestly. Probably going to be a first-round draft pick for someone in your league, if I had to guess. Davante Adams, we know him from Green Bay, longtime Packer. Heavy workload type guy. He's going to be a guy that helps you win your fantasy league if you draft the lower tier card guys correctly. If you picked him in your top 5, nobody would bat an eye about it. Let's show up the depth chart here for the Raiders right quick. Derek Carr, quarterback, obviously. Big name on the board will be Josh Jacobs. I'm not sure where he's ranked in the running back situation, but we're going to have that scroll down the bottom too. I don't see him in the top 10, but he's definitely top 20. He might be a top 10 stat-wise running back throughout the time in the league, depending on injuries and things like that. I can definitely see him being drafted over guys like DeAndre Swift if you value that type of thing. One thing I saw today, honestly, was during the Hall of Fame game, Dave. I don't know if you noticed this, but Josh Jacobs got like 7 carries in the first couple of drives. Normally in the Hall of Fame game, nobody really plays if you're a starter. You don't play at all. Josh Jacobs, on the other hand, had 7 carries. And he played like 2 or 3 drives, had 7 carries. And people were like, why are you doing that? It's so early in the year, and it's a Hall of Fame game. Everybody watches it, but your starters don't play. But Josh Jacobs did. So people were thinking like maybe he would get traded, like he's trade bait. But they come out this morning and said that's not going to be a thing. So,
well, they didn't pick up his option.
He has been looking for a contract.
He's gone. Don't draft Josh Jacobs.
Really?
I have him outside my top 25. He doesn't get passing down usage. This is a pass-first team. Derek Carr was top 5 in the league last year in passing, and they added Davante Adams.
And they had nobody last year. They had Hunter Renfrow as his top target.
They drafted Zamir White. They brought over Brandon Bolden from New England with Josh McDaniel. They just rejected that 5th-year option on Jacobs. Yeah, I think he's gone. I think they're shopping him. They put him out there to see if anybody was interested in buying.
See, on the other hand, I think he's going to be draftable because, I just don't see him going to a team and him not being used. He's a top-tier fantasy football running back. I've had him in multiple leagues, and he's produced well. So, if you get rid of Jacobs, you have Amir Abdullah, who people know, Kenyon Drake, notable name, Zamir White. I just find it hard to believe they're going to get any kind of production out of those 3 that you're going to get with Josh Jacobs, even if you platoon them. I just don't see it. We already talked about Davante Adams. He's a 100% no-doubter draft pick. If he's there in the first round with you, I would probably grab him because he's probably not going to make it to the second. Hunter Renfrow, that's a name that's kind of enticing. to say the least. I think he's a guy that you could definitely pick in your mid to late rounds. He's going to get catches. He's going to get targets. I don't know if any of you guys have the targets numbers pulled up. I'm sure Dave or Coop has them.
I don't have targets. I know he had 103 catches last year.
That's a lot of catches.
Yeah, and he had like the highest catch rate. Like he only had maybe 130 targets, caught 103 balls. Like he catches most of what's thrown his way. This receiver room lost a lot. They weren't big names, but Henry Ruggs, is in the situation he's in. He's out of football. He's not coming back. Brian Edwards is gone. Demarcus Robinson's gone. Or Robinson's still there, but they lost a third receiver. 160 targets left. So Renfro could 100% duplicate what he did last year. Waller, same story, and Adams can come in and pick up 150 targets. Like that's not unreasonable. And I think one of the knocks on Carr is he doesn't throw touchdowns. I mentioned it a minute ago. He was top 5 in attempts and passing yards last season. He had the highest completion percentage of any quarterback in the top 5, and he was the only one under 30 touchdowns, and he threw 23. Like he's going to score more. Those touchdowns are coming up.
Yeah, you want to hear a crazy stat? Tell me which one's Patrick Mahomes and which one's Derek Carr.
I love this game.
4,800 yards passing, 37 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. 4,800 yards throwing, 23 touchdowns, 14 interceptions.
Yeah. Carr's B. I gave it away with the touchdowns.
But... Yeah, you did. But it's like Derek Carr was right there with him. Minus 14 of those passes didn't go for touchdowns.
Yeah.
And he got the number 1 touchdown wide receiver in the game. I mean, Adams had 11 touchdowns last year. I mean, hell, you put that, you just add that to Carr's total last year. He's top 5, top 3.
Are we on the verge? Now, this might be a hot take. I don't know if y'all think I'm crazy or not, but are we on the verge of maybe the Raiders pushing forth an MVP caliber type quarterback with the wide receiver they got?
No.
You don't think so?
Yeah. I think he can put the numbers up for it.
I think that it's he could be in the conversation for sure. But another look at the depth chart here. One other big name, Keelan Cole. I don't think he's been an up and down. He is a Kentucky Wesleyan guy. I guess more people want to know. Went to college at Kentucky Wesleyan, played a lot, played a few years at Jacksonville. He's a solid third wide receiver for the Las Vegas Raiders, but probably not going to be a solid addition to your fantasy lineup. When it comes to tight ends, Darren Waller is the man. He's the guy. Let me see where he's ranked here. He's top 10 for sure, top 5 according to ESPN with the ticker scrolling across the bottom here. He's going to get targets. Devontae Adams is going to take a lot of attention away from Darren Waller, which is only going to help Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller. But now this gives Derek Carr. David Carr's his brother, who sucked for years. He was terrible, Dave. Terrible. But anyway.
Hey, you're just jealous you weren't in the league for however long he was in the league.
Yeah, I mean, if I wasn't 5'10" and 325 pounds back in high school, I would have made it to the league. I sound like those guys that are like, man, if I didn't tear my hamstring or blew out my knee in high school, I would have went all the way.
Even worse, Frank. Even worse.
I wasn't blessed with good genetics. Both my parents are small, so. But it is what it is. I'm not mad at him. It's okay. I'm not mad at him. But Darren Waller, definitely a guy that's probably going to be 1, 2, 3 round, third round at the latest draft pick. He's going to be a guy you're going to want to pick up as a tight end. If you're looking for tight ends, I would say it falls off fairly steadily after Darren Waller. It goes Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts, I'm still waiting on something great to happen. George Kittle, I think he's got the 49ers are in shambles right now, honestly. But with George Kittle, after that, Darren Waller, I would probably jump Darren Waller in front of those two, in my opinion, if I was ranking them. But I'm not. That's why I don't get paid money to do that. Oh, so any thoughts on any of the rest of these guys? Anybody going to draft Jacob Johnson at fullback?
No, I'm out on fullbacks. I don't see any value there. Maybe if you're playing daily and you're hoping for a fullback dive in the end zone, could be a sneaky play. But outside of that,
If you
I
draft
don't have
fullback,
much.
it's got to be Juszczyk.
Yeah,
He's probably the only one that I wouldn't even think about drafting. But any other thoughts on the Raiders, fellas?
just touching on that running back situation again. This is one, like, there's opportunity there. We think this is going to be a good offense. You do have to question Josh McDaniels coming over. Like, New England has been the most unpredictable backfield for a decade.
Yeah,
And
I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that at all.
It looks like he's doing the same thing. He brought in 2 free agents. He drafted a running back, and then there's rumors of Jacobs being traded. So I don't know if there's many teams out there right now where he would have more value. Like maybe Atlanta, maybe Houston. They really have some major running back questions, but he's not been that efficient. So I would really try to avoid Josh Jacobs right now in drafts. I wouldn't take him, like I said, inside the top 25 at running back.
So if you say that, it's obviously inevitable that in a couple weeks when we have our draft, I'm going to draft him in like the 4th round.
And we will all be happy you did.
Yeah, if for some reason every time we draft, when I make a pick, people laugh at me. Is that bad?
No, you keep doing you, Frank.
What a good time. All right, we've got 2 teams left. Who wants to pick which team goes next? We have the Chiefs and the Chargers. Both very good teams. Both probably would put them in the conversation for Super Bowl caliber rosters.
I would say all 4 teams. You could throw this Super Bowl caliber. All 4 teams have. Well, I don't know if you say the Chiefs has a great defense, but the Broncos, the Raiders, and now the Chargers all have top 10 defenses in the league with explosive offenses.
If things break right, we could see any one of them there. I agree.
Well, nobody was really thinking about the Bengals being there. I guess you're right. So, let's roll with Kansas City. What y'all say? Kansas City Chiefs. We'll get into things here. Let's change our color scheme up a tad. How about that? We'll throw the Chiefs depth chart up here. Obviously, this roster is littered, absolutely filthy with fantasy picks. Patrick Mahomes obviously up there. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, big time name. Juju, who has kind of had some off years, but I feel like this is a great situation for him to revive his career. He spent a lot of times injured in the media for not so good reasons. Mecole Hardman, I feel like he's going to take that Tyreek Hill role. Marquez Valdez-Scantling coming over from Green Bay. Not the biggest name in the book, but he is going to get targets. He's a good wide receiver. He did some things, and we haven't really looked in this second tier category before. But Josh Gordon, that's an intriguing name there too as well. And then obviously Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce's obviously on the top of everybody's draft boards. If you can get him, get him. He puts up wide receiver numbers. We've never seen a tight end that's like him before in the NFL. Honestly, I think he might go down as one of the greatest of all time. He will go down as one of the greatest of all time, but is he going to go down as the greatest of all time? We never know. Stat wise, I think he's a no doubt first ballot Hall of Famer if he retired today. But anyway, Kansas City Chiefs. Let's talk wide receivers first. Let's take a look real quick. Juju, Mecole, Scantling, Josh Gordon. What direction are you guys headed?
There is a league winner in this wide receiver room,
I believe,
but I do not know who it is. It could be Sky Moore. It could be Juju. It could be Valdez-Scantling. I don't think it's Hardman because he's been there. He's been the 2 in that offense. All we've ever seen is a flash, right? Nothing consistent.
Right.
But they lost over 300 targets. Over 300 targets from last season. You had obviously Tyreek Hill gone, Byron Pringle, Darrell Williams out of the backfield had 47 catches last year, and then Demarcus Robinson moved over inside the same division. So I have Juju the highest out of these guys. And then I'm probably going to take a shot on Sky Moore, the rookie. He's had a good training camp. I've seen him running in rounds with the first team. They've got speed. It's just who is Mahomes going to pick, right?
Yeah.
I do think this hurts Kelsey a little bit because teams know that wide receiver room is full of questions, and he's now, the number one key. I think he's going to see a lot of attention. He's still going to put up his 1,000 yards. He's still going to get 80, 90 catches, but I think we might see a little bit of regression from Kelsey this year.
Yeah, I think that's why you see Mark Andrews ahead of Travis Kelsey in a lot of tight end rankings, and I think that's people are accounting for that, where he's going to have that safety hanging out watching him, where before that was they had to watch Tyreek Hill as much as they could. I would say I'm high on Mecole Hardman. When they drafted him out of Georgia, they said he was going to be the next Tyreek Hill. The only problem was Tyreek Hill was there.
Yeah.
He had 59 catches last year for 700 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to at least produce 1.5 that. I think he at least gets at least 4 touchdowns at least this year. I don't know if he's going to have Tyreek Hill numbers, but we're definitely going to see some explosive plays where Patrick Mahomes runs around the pocket, buys an extra 5 seconds, and he's going to find Mecole Hardman for an 80-yard bomb. It's going to happen 2 or 3 times this year. I guarantee it. The question mark for me would be MVS, because I believe, if I'm thinking that's right, he's the deep speed guy, tall.
Yeah, like 6'4",
right?
6'5", yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how they use those 2 speed guys together, and then Juju will be, the underneath guy more than likely. So I think Juju will have a good year. I think he'll probably be what he was in Pittsburgh. He's 25 now, or
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like he came in the league at 18. So
yeah, he's less than a year older than Mecole Hardman, and he's younger than Mahomes. Like, he lines up with the talent.
Yeah, and him and Jackson Mahomes are going to do all their TikToks before the game, so he'll be nice and stretched out. So I think Juju's in for a revival of his career. He's had a lot of injuries.
I think so too.
Let's see, where is he listed right now? He's like 35th on ESPN PPR cheat sheet I got. So I think that's about right. He's definitely going to be a guy that's like, you're going to roll around, you're going to have 3 wide receivers on your team, and you're going to be like, oh, there's a Kansas City Chief still out there. Patrick Mahomes has to throw it to somebody. So that's kind of my take on it. If you can get Kelsey in the first or second round, I mean, you're drafting a wide receiver at tight end, but then you're pretty much going to wait on everybody else, and you are not going to touch Chiefs running back. You said you're not going to touch Josh Jacobs. I would touch Josh Jacobs before anybody on the Chiefs.
I've got a Chiefs running back I like.
Go with
I don't know
who.
You guys have watched any of training camp, read any reports. There's a 7th round rookie that is getting a lot of hype for the Kansas City Chiefs. And he's not even on here.
No, he's not. Is he on this list?
But he's getting first team carries. There's highlight plays, wheel routes, like over the shoulder catch from Mahomes. Andy Reid's talking him up. Isaiah Pacheco. All right, I'm telling you guys, this is your late round flyer. This is one of those dart throws, because if you get the carries in this offense, there's so much upside, right? Anytime you can get touches in an offense that we expect to be as good as this and score as much as Kansas City does, then you have a path to fantasy relevancy. And, Andy Reid historically has not – he doesn't care about the pedigree. He doesn't care about the contract. He's playing the running back that he feels like is going to put them in the best situation. He's out of Rutgers. I'll be honest, I didn't watch many Rutgers football games last year, so I haven't seen a lot of on-field action. But he's getting great reviews. I put him in a tier on my rankings, like right behind Nyheim Hines and J.D. McKissick, like those bottom-tier guys that I know will give me week-to-week production. And then I'm throwing darts at the rookies, right? Isaiah Spiller, we'll talk about him here in a minute. Damian Pierce in Houston, like those guys just have upside because we don't know what they're capable of, and if they get the opportunity, they can produce.
So let me ask you this question: Are those guys that you would draft, or maybe pass on and pick up after the draft, maybe after week 1, something like that?
I would rather draft somebody like that could just break out when nobody knows it than I would, even though I have them ranked ahead of them, I would rather wait on a Naeem Hines. Everybody knows about him. He's going to put up small numbers. Nobody's going out and getting him after 1 week. But if it comes out and Isaiah Pacheco has 12 carries and 6 targets week 1, like that's an RB2 in Kansas City.
For sure.
Yeah, I would say especially in our league where we got a deep bench, you don't let guys like that hit the waiver wire because then it's chance.
Yeah,
especially if you're Coop and you're always number 1 in the league and you get the last waiver wire pick. So.
So let me ask you this question: our draft is going to be on a Sunday night at 8:00. Should we do it on this program and live stream it? Or let's think about the people that are actually in our league and how
that's what we need a parental advisory on there if we do that.
Yeah.
Let's not. Or it would be pretty cool. Well, it's kind of boring. There's a lot of time in between, things like that. We'll have to figure out sort of a plan for the show for that week before Labor Day. So, more about the Chiefs. We can sit here and talk about the Chiefs all day, but Travis Kelce, no doubt. Patrick Mahomes, no doubt. If you're playing in the keeper league, he's not even going to be in the draft pool. Dustin Crum over here, 4th. He might not make the team. We don't know. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's going to get picked. People are going to pick him. Like we just talked about, he's not even getting all the first team reps right now. That's surprising to me, honestly. I thought he's done a really good job in there so far. I mean, it's kind of hard for. I've not been high on. Yeah, that could be true. I've not been high on Kansas City running backs for a long time. Just simply because they run it, but we have Patrick Mahomes who makes plays with his feet anyway. You're not going to have a lot of opportunity to hand the ball off. It's going to be sort of like a possession thing. They're not going to have guys that bust for 25, 30 yards in a single carry. You might get end zone, red zone type things, but very few and far between. I'm like Dave. I'm not going to touch a running back here on this team, honestly.
Yeah, at this point in the draft,
I'll draft Josh Jacobs.
I like a lot of other 1Bs, honestly. I would rather have a Melvin Gordon, Chase Edmonds, James Robinson, Ramondre Stevenson. I've got all those guys above Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah.
Because they're already going to have week-to-week production, and their ceiling is way higher than his.
Yeah, so the big name – sorry, go ahead, David. I didn't mean to cut you off.
And we got Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he's a definition of a gunslinger. He wants to throw it, or he's going to scramble for 20, 30 yards. What did they average? Like probably 15, 20 carries for the running backs a game last year. Like you're not going to get much.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, fellas, we're going to move on to the LA Chargers. This is a team that in one of our very first episodes, that was forever ago, fellas. I feel like, when did we start this podcast? Back in January, something like that? Something crazy. Yeah, it wasn't exactly February. 21 weeks ago, but we're 21 episodes in. We've been talking about the Chargers for a long time, for good reason. The Chargers are going to be probably a favorite in the AFC to come out of that side. They've got all the firepower in the world. So we'll flash their depth chart up here really quick. Justin Herbert, probably, I say probably way too much, but he's a top tier guy. I could see him being one of the best quarterbacks in the league this year. Stat wise, fantasy wise, I would obviously, I think Lamar Jackson probably has more upside than him in terms of different things he can do to get stats for fantasy. But with the arm, Justin Herbert's one of the best in the league, and you can't go wrong with drafting him. If he's your quarterback, you're going to be successful. Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, all of those guys. This is another roster that's just littered with fantasy talent. So my question to you guys is, Justin Herbert, a guy that you would reach for early on if you don't already have him in a fantasy keeper league? Is he a guy that you would go through first to draft as a quarterback over possibly a top tier running back that's available?
No, never draft quarterbacks
No.
early. I love him. He's number 3 for me. I got him above Mahomes. I think he'll outproduce him this year. I am not a guy that drafts quarterbacks early. I've had some success in my fantasy career, and you can find comparable quarterbacks. I'm not saying they're going to put up the same numbers, but you can get by with 3-4 points a week less from somebody you get off waiver wires. There's nothing wrong with waiting and then doing a Justin Fields, Daniel Jones stack after the draft is over. Like, those guys are going to both run for 400 to 600 yards, and if they throw a touchdown when you have them in, that's great.
Yeah.
But I will never draft a top 6-7 running back or quarterback. That's just not my philosophy.
Are you the guy that always that picks quarterbacks first? Like, are you the first guy to pick a quarterback?
No, I'm the last.
All righty, whatever. Justin Herbert, obviously a big talent. Him and these AFC quarterbacks, man. If you got Herbert, Burrow, freaking Mahomes, Josh Allen, we're in for a treat in our lifetimes watching these guys sling the ball around. It's comparable to me to, the Brady, Manning, Drew Brees, that type of era. I think it's going to be better. These guys are going to break every record there is. Running backs, Austin Eckler, obviously. Big round early draft pick. Coop mentioned Isaiah Spiller. I'll let you kind of talk about him here in a minute. Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, I've had them both on my team for a long time. They both produce, barring injuries. Keenan Allen does have histories with injuries a little bit, but if he's healthy, he's probably a top 10, top 15 receiver easily in terms of production. I think he is ranked in the top 10 right now.
Yeah.
I love Mike Williams. They target him a lot. I don't know much about Joshua Palmer. Tight end wise, I would stay clear of any of these guys, to be honest with you. But Coop, talk about Spiller for a minute. What do you like about him?
Yeah. So again, try not to get too excited over all these things that come out of training camp, because nobody's going to talk bad about their players. But Spiller's getting a lot of hype. He's sharing reps with Eckler, and I think the big thing is that Eckler hit 200 carries for the first time in his career last season. That's not the guy he normally is. He also scored 20 touchdowns. That's not the guy he normally is. I think he only had one season of double digits before last year. He also has said publicly that he doesn't want 200 carries. He wants to protect his body. He's ready for load management. He doesn't want to be the workhorse back. And this seems like a very cohesive team in a league of dysfunction. And I think they'll respect that. They're going to try to extend his longevity. I think you're going to see Spiller get maybe 10 carries and a couple targets a game. He's going to get the goal line work. I think he can be relevant. And if something happens to Eckler, he's an RB1 because of the offense he's playing in. He's a big back, 6'1", 220. So I think that he is definitely a late round running back that I'm looking at. I think there's a ton of upside with him, and he could kind of be a 1B from the beginning of the season.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. The thought I have when it comes to the Chargers is, looking back at their games last year, the common theme was that their defense sucked. And Justin Herbert had to chuck the ball. That was just what it was. How many times did we see the Chargers put up 35-plus points?
A lot.
So, and now they went out and got defense guys. They got Khalil Mack, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So they went out and got
Jackson.
Exactly. Their defense isn't going to be giving up those 35, 40-point games. So I'm really interested to see, Austin Eckler is a scat back. He's a guy catching balls out of the backfield. Do they try and slow it down? Does Isaiah Spiller getting those 10, 15 carries, mucking it up, killing some clock? Is Justin Herbert going to need to throw it for 5,000 yards and 38 touchdowns again to have a good team? I don't know. That's where I think this is going to be a different Chargers team. I mean, they're still Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are still, both of them are going to be either the first or second wide receiver you're going to draft for your team. It's just, or I think last year might have been their peak.
Yeah.
And then the thing that always gets me is it's the Chargers. How many years ago was it when they had Melvin Gordon and they were 13-3 and they're the number one seed in the AFC and then they lost in the divisional round. The Chargers always find a way to kind of screw it up. So the AFC West is the beast of the league this year. So I would say the Chargers, in my mind, are the front runners. But it's easy to say that on paper. We got to go see it on the field now.
Yeah.
Putting the Chargers in the front runners right now is very bold, in my opinion. I don't think it's far-fetched to think about it. I think, obviously, people can say that. But it's really hard to put people up there if they've not been there in a while. The Kansas City Chiefs still run this division, and they're going to run the division until somebody else takes it over.
I'll take a third option. I'll take a third one.
I think the Raiders have a really good chance of running this league too, but I'm not going to say that until I see it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, but Frank, we were a tie away from the Chargers making the playoffs last year.
God, can you imagine if that happened? But I remember us texting and talking about that while it was happening. Just like, dude, just kneel it. What a good time that was. That was prime time. That was probably one of the most exciting football games I've watched.
Yes.
Right. And that's what's crazy is you think about it. If the Chargers would have made it in, maybe we were talking about the Chargers in February instead of the Bengals.
You're right. But guess what? They didn't. They didn't.
Oh.
All right, fellas. We've made it through all of our teams.
Hold on. I got to give a Keenan Allen shout out real quick.
Go ahead.
He's the most underappreciated receiver in the NFL. He is so consistent. Over the past 5 seasons, he is 3 catches and 8 yards away from putting up 5 consecutive years with 100 catches, 1,000 yards, and 6 or more touchdowns.
Hey.
He's as sure thing as you can get at wide receiver 1. He did have injury early in his career, but he's played, I think, 4 out of the last 5. He hasn't missed a single game, and they were like freak injuries. He had the, what was it like when it was quarterback got his lung pierced with a needle? It was stuff like that, like just completely random, had nothing to do with his health or how his body was holding up.
Yeah. So we've covered a lot of things today in terms of just, different teams, different, things to look for. I think we had some sleeper picks in there with a couple of the guys we mentioned. I would think that this league, it would not surprise me if the Super Bowl champion come out of this league. It hurts me to say that because, the Bengals play a lot of these guys. I do know some Chargers fans. I know some wannabe Chiefs fans. My nephew's a Raiders fan. For some reason, he liked them ever since Marshawn Lynch played there. He's a Raiders guy. I think my Lindsay's cousin Darren is a big Raiders fan. My boy Jake Banks is a Broncos fan. Has always been since I've known him. It's always funny because I've been a Bengals fan. I can make fun of him for being a Broncos fan, but they're making some moves. So who knows if I'm going to be able to make fun of him for very much longer. We don't know.
So how can you make fun of him? He has a Super Bowl this decade or century.
Sorry, Dave. Dave, who's playing quarterback for the Commies this year?
Carson Wentz, baby. Let's go kill some ducks.
I can't wait to talk about those guys again. You all know that one of our most viewed YouTube videos is about the Washington Commanders. There were some people in there that were so mad at the things we said about the Commanders, and how we just talked mad crap about Dan Snyder, and for some reason people were taking up for him.
It was Dan Snyder's bots. That was his Twitter bots.
There's definitely not
scrolling the internet defending him.
It was so funny. I was like, man, these people are actually watching our video, and they're commenting on it. Like, we're doing something right here, fellas. I don't think there's no need to say anything else about these 4 teams, honestly. Like we said, Super Bowl champion. Wouldn't surprise me if it come out of the AFC West. But other than that, fellas, if you guys have any other burning comments, Coop's shaking his head yes. We'll put them on the screen.
Donald Parham, 6'8", tight end for the Chargers. They have 83 targets from a retired Jared Cook.
Where'd Parham play in college? I know that name. It's in the SEC, isn't it? I'm gonna look it up real quick.
He played at Stetson.
Shut up.
I'm dead serious.
Why do I know that name?
Bama.
Anyway,
he's a Bama guy.
24 years old, 6'8". He was in the system last year, had 27 targets, caught 20, and 3 of them were touchdowns. So he could be a big red zone guy for this team.
I'm reading one day ago, Donald Parham leaves Chargers training camp with a parent injury. We'll read that real quick. Witnesses perhaps most significant practice to this far training camp. Doing red zone drills, baby. Tight end Donald Parham appeared to injure something in his lower half. Came up hobbling.
Oh, Hoblin's not hurt.
Yeah.
Hey,
people are asking
for prayers. You know it's serious when people are asking for prayers.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Coop.
That was it. I was just saying, deep leagues are daily. He could be somebody to keep an eye on. That's a big body and a big offense, and there's targets up for grabs.
I like it. All right, guys. What a good time. We had an exciting time getting on today. I said a lot of words I probably shouldn't have said. I'm glad that the cameras weren't rolling at that time. I was not very happy. If you can see right now, my camera sucks. It's because it's my computer camera. I'm usually using a webcam through my phone through an app that's hardwired into my computer. Works perfectly for 20 episodes. But 21st doesn't work. It worked at the beginning, and then it stopped working. So we're dealing with a lot of stuff here. But if you guys don't have anything else, we're going to let everybody go. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Download our stuff on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It helps us out. We're creeping up. We've got quite a few downloads here and there for our episodes. Follow us on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel. Like our videos. Share them with your friends. If you've got a fan of one of the teams we talk about, if you're a fantasy football fan, our show from here on out, moving toward a long period of time, we're going to be talking a lot about fantasy football because it's something that we like a lot. Appreciate the comment, Coach Whitaker. We do our best. We act like we know what we're doing, but we really don't.
I feel like I'm okay.
Yeah, Coop's a little conceited, but it's okay. Our content here from here on out until probably February is going to be a lot of fantasy football talk and a lot of football stuff. It's something that we like pretty much more than anything, and it's more interesting for us. And quite frankly, more people like to watch it. So if you guys have nothing else, we're going to let everybody go. We're going to hop off here. Like I said, please like our Facebook page, subscribe to our YouTube channel if that's your thing. As always, we love you. Peace. Y'all have a good night.